Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're charting a pretty fascinating course through the cosmos as we break down the highly anticipated weekly predictions of astrologers. We're zeroing in on the astrological window of August 16th through August 22nd, 2026. Now, whether you look to astrology as a guiding light or, just find it to be a super interesting cultural lens, Zinjani's forecasts are famous for being incredibly specific, highly structured, and genuinely pragmatic. I am absolutely thrilled to be your guide today, breaking down exactly what these shifting planetary energies mean for every single sign of the zodiac. Let's get into it. So, the big question on everyone's mind, what do the stars actually hold for you this week? Are you heading into a period of, say, an unexpected financial windfall? Or is this maybe a week to batten down the hatches, guard your health, and practice some immense patience? The cosmos definitely doesn't hand out the same deck of cards to everyone, and as you'll see, the contrast between the signs this week are incredibly sharp. Okay, let's dive into this. To make things super effortless, we're breaking the zodiac into 4 chronological chapters, starting with Aries, Taurus, and Gemini, then moving on to Cancer, Leo, and Virgo, followed by Libra, Scorpio, and Sagittarius, and finally Capricorn, Aquarius, and Pisces. And then we'll wrap the whole thing up with his spiritual remedies and guidance.
All right, Chapter 1, Aries, Taurus, and Gemini.
Starting off with Aries, now, Zinjani is forecasting kind of a cautious week here. You might be facing some health and work obstacles right out of the gate, so if you've been putting off a routine checkup, getting that scheduled is highly advised. There's also a very distinct warning here. Protect your valuables from potential theft or fraud. Interestingly, though, while your overall debt burden might feel like it's creeping up, there's a silver lining. Zinjani points out that if you are applying for a loan right now, the approval should actually come through quite easily. But do brace yourself emotionally and professionally, because he does note a risk of a sudden job loss or even a loved one departing. Moving right along to Taurus, and wow, the energy shifts dramatically. This is shaping up to be a highly romantic and financially stable week for you. Business profits are trending up, and you might literally see the fulfillment of a long-held old wish. For all the parents and students tuning in, your focus is going to heavily shift toward educational responsibilities and really zeroing in on children's needs. One quick heads up, though, Zinjani does warn of a minor midweek illness. Don't just brush it off, because he notes it has the potential to really drag on if you ignore it. And this brilliantly illustrates the totally diverse nature of the zodiac, because Gemini is stepping into an incredibly fruitful week. Your focus is going to be squarely on the home front. Think enjoying family time, hosting guests, maybe tackling some home improvements. You might even feel the sudden, strong urge to acquire personal property or finally pull the trigger on buying a car. Professionally, it's an absolutely excellent window for job seekers, and if you're already employed, growth and promotions are looking highly likely. The big takeaway for Gemini this week, all that past hard work is finally paying off. Moving right into Chapter 2, Cancer, Leo, and Virgo. For Cancer, the week ahead looks, well, a bit like a pressure cooker. Zinjani describes a period of extreme busyness, where finding even a minute for yourself is going to be nearly impossible. You might find your sleep getting pretty disturbed, and that's largely driven by taking on unnecessary responsibilities. This kind of mental overload can definitely lead to relationship distractions and perhaps even some bitterness with a father figure. On the business side of things, it's a bit of a mixed bag. It's looking highly profitable if your work is strictly domestic, but quite poor if you're dealing with overseas clients. Now contrast that heavy, intense energy with Leo. Leos, you are walking into a totally fantastic week. Finances are looking incredibly favorable. You're going to find your expenses naturally reducing, allowing you to actually save some money. Socially, it's a beautiful time of healing. Old resentments are finally ending, you'll benefit from your relatives, and your naturally sweet tone is going to help you reconnect with friends. Even the everyday grind seems to ease up a bit, with reduced burdens for employees and the potential for some really pleasant travel. Now, what's really interesting about this slide is the stark cosmic disparities sitting right next door to each other in the zodiac. On one hand, you have Cancer, really weighed down by disrupted sleep, extreme stress, and relationship friction. And then, quite literally right next to it, Leo is experiencing this sweeping relief, total financial ease, and joyful reunions. I mean, it's a perfect example of why understanding these specific weekly transits can be an absolute game changer for setting your personal expectations. Rounding out this particular triad is Virgo, and the news here is exceptionally good. Zinjani is forecasting a week of true health recovery. You're actually going to find an unusual ease in all your tasks, which makes this the absolute perfect window for starting new work or launching new projects. Plus, your wishes are likely to be granted, and some pleasant travels with friends are definitely on the horizon. Combine that with the strong support of your spouse and a better income stream to cover your necessities, and Virgo is looking at a highly harmonious, lucky week.
All right, Chapter 3, Libra, Scorpio, and Sagittarius. Let's keep this momentum going.
For Libra, the stars are definitely advising some caution and resilience. You're looking at a potential surge in unexpected expenses, and that might actually be triggered by some uninvited guests dropping by. Professionally, there are a few struggles ahead. In fact, ongoing work might suddenly grind to a halt. Emotionally, Zinjani notes a rather poignant feeling of loneliness, even when you're literally surrounded by your friends. However, and this is important, there is a very specific silver lining. If you are currently applying for immigration or you're actively working on paying off debts, the cosmic energy is actually highly favorable for those specific tasks right now. Scorpio, on the other hand, you are entering a highly rewarding phase. Financial stability and business profits are looking incredibly strong, and long-held wishes are finally being fulfilled. What's super fascinating about Zanjani's reading here is the very modern specificity. He explicitly notes success for Scorpios involved in online trading, cryptocurrency, and the stock market this week. You might also find yourself kind of inexplicably drawn to lotteries, or, on the flip side, attending deep spiritual gatherings. On the family front, expect some really solid support from your siblings and a breakthrough in solving any marital issues your children might be dealing with. Moving over to Sagittarius, we see a pretty brilliant little narrative unfolding. For those of you who are unemployed, success is forecasted to come with surprisingly minimal effort this week, which is great news. For the employed, promotions, career growth, and profitable investments are highly likely. Now, while you might experience some friction or complaints with your loved ones, Zanjani points out that any major obstacles you face this week will actually be overcome with the unexpected help of total strangers. Overall, your focus is going to naturally gravitate towards family matters, hosting guests, and managing property. Okay, bringing us to our final trio. Chapter 4, Capricorn, Aquarius, and Pisces. So the crucial point for Capricorn to start the week is this. Pay very close attention to the dreams you have in the first 2 days. Seriously, seek their interpretation because Zanjani says they hold significant meaning for you. Beyond that fascinating detail, the week is defined by a real ease in your work, a peaceful home life completely backed by your spouse's support, and engaging in some highly meaningful business discussions. It's also a surprisingly favorable time to pursue higher education or embark on some domestic travel. Before we move on to Aquarius, I want to pull this direct quote straight from Zanjani's forecast. Avoid fights and haste. This week can prove to be a test for you. And that quote perfectly sets the stage for the Aquarius forecast, which, let's be honest, is undeniably challenging. The week is going to be marked by delays, disappointments, and random obstacles in nearly every task you tackle. Financial stress from increased expenses could end up leading to a bitter tone in your day-to-day communications. You might even experience some apathy from your relatives and an unusual lingering fear or apprehension regarding strangers. Travel looks pretty difficult right now, and for some, issues surrounding a secret marriage may suddenly bubble up to the surface. Above all else, this is a week demanding your absolute immense patience.
Finally, we are wrapping up the Zodiac with Pisces, and thankfully, we are ending on a very joyous note. For the unmarried Pisces, matchmaking talks are highly favored right now, and for those who are married, it's a beautiful time for reconciliation and just general peace. You'll likely find yourself taking on a few more responsibilities for your children, but you'll be balancing all that out by dining out quite frequently. Also, expect any business partnerships to really benefit from deep, meaningful discussions. Ultimately, this is just a beautiful week characterized by healing, recreation, and a wonderful sense of ease in all your relationships.
Okay, let's look at the spiritual remedies and guidance. Let's move to and see how this builds into some real, actionable advice. Routinely pairs his astrological insights with spiritual remedies, and for this specific week, he highlights 4 items. If you're experiencing business or home obstacles, maybe like our Aries or Aquarius friends, he recommends Baku for Wani Risk to help eliminate those bad effects. If you're just looking to generally attract blessings and prosperity, there's the Miskal Kuda Aqrab. Now, for those facing the physical ailments we mentioned, like that midweek illness for Taurus, he points to Zayto Shifa for physical pain relief. And finally, Arke Pakiza is suggested for overall purity and protection against any lingering negative energies. And that brings us to the end of our explainer on astrologer Syed Ali Zanjani's predictions for the week of August 16th. We've seen some absolutely stark contrasts today, from the heavy trials facing Aquarius to the literal financial luck shining down on Leo and Scorpio. So the question I want to leave you with is this. Knowing what the stars have mapped out, how will you use this cosmic foresight to navigate your week? Will you lean into the positive momentum, or maybe use this knowledge to patiently weather the incoming storms? Thank you so much for joining me today, and I really hope this structured look at the stars helps you conquer whatever the days ahead throw your way.